Welcome back, Guardians. Welcome to the coming of the tide. The ebb and the flow of the sea of stars and the waning of the sun brings about new terrors for us to face. Soon, they say it is, these darkness pyramids come for us, eking ever closer in the darkness of the void. We shall prepare, we shall ready ourselves against the bulwark of hope, and when they do come, I fear these stories, these lessons may not be enough to help. But until then, I shall be here, like those others around, and we shall continue to discuss the world around us in an attempt, however foolish, to provide you an advantage in your adventures. With that said, we should discuss the story of Caialt, the heir to a collapsing and stolen empire. Her nation, which she has always loved, reeks of failure. The scent is strong. Caialt, heir to the throne of the Cabal Empire, is an educated individual, suffering under the tutelage of Callus, but perhaps saved from his vices. Imagine, Guardians, for a moment, you are the heir to an empire that is on the brink of collapse. You've lost so many of your people to an initial expedition to Mars, fighting an endless war against the Vex. Your people, in their bravery, attempt to take the Hive to hell with them in a brilliant but fatal last stand. Your father is exiled aboard a massive planet-eating ship, and your empire is fractured into a civil war led by a man whose only ambition is to be chosen by a machine god, to prove to humanity the Cabal as a people are better, are chosen. You are, for lack of a better term, surrounded by fools and incompetence. The decadence of your empire has ate away at the foundations of strength and honor. There is a rot in the seat of your power. Your father is gone to a certain madness of vice. Your mentor, or rival, Gaul, is eliminated, fallen to his missteps of misreading the light. Only you, Caialt, remain. Your agents move through the galaxy in an attempt to reassert your power, eliminating your father's shadows. But you have a long way to go before you can restore your claim to your birthright. Caialt's story feels oddly similar to the story of Oryx, except the difference in symbolism. It's mired in an ambition to restore an empire. Remember, Guardians, back in the early days of our awakening, when we first faced the Cabal on Mars, we knew that they were merely the vanguard to a larger empire, a larger threat. We hypothesized that these early scouts were merely an expedition looking for potential conquest, but they chased the traveler, as many other species have, in hopes of claiming or understanding its power. Some had hoped even that the Cabal could be turned to work with us, face the darkness together, as if the legions on Mars were purely looking for a new territory to settle, that the Cabal Empire was facing a similar threat we face now. So many mysteries surround and remain around these people. Do they truly believe that they are to rule the galaxy? Why? Because they are taught this dominance at birth? Because Callus and Gaul and those like them only seek to conquest, to control, to overtake any that stand before them? You could ask the question, and many will. Won't Caialt learn from the missteps of her father, the exiled Emperor Callus, or the usurper and now deceased Gaul? Or is it so ingrained in her mind, her genetics, that the Cabal are the only true leaders and rulers of the galaxy, and that the worlds of humanity are merely another gem to be placed upon her crown? During Callus's time as emperor at the seat of Cabal territory, many stars distant from here, he led an internal leadership council of differing opinions to his own. Now, if we look at our own history, particularly that of the old Chinese or even old Roman empires, many leaders would surround themselves with loyalists that often had dissenting opinions, as to not live within an echo chamber of yes men or yes women. It's a uniquely clever ploy. Whether these dissenters to imperial strategy were loyal or more ambitious, Callus would keep them close. As the old adage promotes, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. One of these dissenters to imperial strategy was Caialt, his very daughter, and next in line for imperial succession. She believed, like many in the imperial court, that her father was often too soft in regards to the external military threats that faced the empire, those of the Hive or the Vex, and wished for an opportunity to forge a path for the Cabal Empire that did not underestimate these threats. Perhaps that is her motivation, to seek out her father's shadows, eliminate them in an attempt to recover some lost honor or even weaponry, with a singular focus against the Cabal, such as the Fourth Horseman few of you seem to wield mightily in the field. This part of the report is more theory than fact, so take the next words with care. The question remains, will Caialt reform the remnants of the Red Legion, reincorporate them into the legions of the Imperial Cabal Empire, and seek to avenge the wayward goals of Gaul and eliminate her father Callus? Patricide is, especially for Imperial members of a grand empire, it's no small feat. Even Callus, who hides himself behind an army of loyalist and mechanical surrogates, would not quickly find himself on the edge of death. Perhaps Caialt would be a formidable ally against the oncoming darkness that threatens our borders. Or perhaps, more likely, she will come with her reformed empire in the hopes to pick apart the remnants of humanity, the Traveler, and the agents of darkness. Who knows what our future holds against this threat, but if anything is certain, our enemies tend to show themselves early, well before we see their actions of devastation in person. Think again to the distress call sent out from the Dreadnought by the Cabal that brought about the return of Callus and the attack of the Red Legion under Gaul, or at least we assume. We were aware that this signal was sent. We could have better prepared, could have utilized the foresight of a threat yet to come. Much like our visibility into the historical text found among the dreadnought of Callus's imperial family and their vocal disdain for his military strategy or lack thereof. We should be prepared to face the Cabal again sometime in the future, Guardian, and be ever mindful as to what their true ambitions are, as there are now potentially 3 factions within the Cabal. Only time will tell what our future holds, and for now we should be relatively safe against the ambitions of the Imperial Restoration under Caialt. Continue to be mindful, Guardians, as you wield the weapons dubbed Heir Apparent and the Fourth Horseman. They have a certain history or connection with Cabal, and it's likely that while they instill fear once you reveal them, there are also rewards for their capture and destruction amongst Cabal forces. How many of their legionary brothers have been removed from their fleshly tethers of this world by the machinations of Guardians and their tools? Is it that easily forgivable for the Red Legion remnants, for Caialt? We have a certain cycle that afflicts us, Guardians, something we may have often overseen during our quest for humanity's survival and independence. We stand on 1,000 corpses of those who seek to challenge us, often never thinking twice why these enemies are at our doorstep. We are the tower ringed in spears, but perhaps the rest of that quote is undone. Perhaps our tower continues to rise in the skull and bone of our enemies until we become a beacon for all to challenge, for all to seek their vengeance of lost brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers. Perhaps for some, like Caialt, we are the final symbolic victory to be achieved to fully restore her empire and do what Callus was too incompetent or blind to achieve, to do what Gaul couldn't, as he was lost within his obsession of the Traveler, our machine god. Be ever mindful as we continue to prepare for the oncoming threat of the darkness, Guardian. There may yet be a time when the Cabal rise again to face us, this time led by a leader who is willing to learn from her precursors' mistakes, and unwilling to underestimate why Guardians are so tenacious.